Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are live. How many people had it on their bingo card today that the Silver and Black were going to sign Nathan Peterman? I don't know about y'all. It's not what I expected, but it is something that we're going to talk about coming up here on today's show, because not only did the Raiders sign the GOAT, Peterman. Are we also going to bring back Gruden? I don't know. But we decided to move on from Keelan Doss, battling a little bit of an injury on top of that. So one of the segments that I want to do today is around some of the news and rumors that happened around the Silver and Black today, but then also take a look at and be like, is there a chance that Nathan Peterman could actually make this 53-man roster over an Anthony Brown, over Carter Bradley? And if you haven't already voted at that live poll yet, please make sure that you do so. I also am going to be doing an inside look against the Dallas Cowboys. I sat down with Tom Downey, host of the Cowboys Report, and I was like, Tom, give me the biggest storylines. What can Raider fans expect from the Cowboys going into this preseason game? Because this is a really big game for us as a fan base, because we got to figure out what we got with Aidan Minshew, and this is going to be the last look I think that you get with some of these first-string, second-string players looking forward. And then that third preseason game against the Niners a lot of times is, well, mainly backups. If you want to get those questions, comments here on the show, make sure that you use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. I see one from Evil Mitch we'll get to here in a second. I did see this one on Twitter, and it comes in from Morgan King 69. How do you feel about the linebacker group, specifically Eichenberg and Masterson? My question to the nation out there is, who do you have more confidence in terms of this season being the better linebacker? Masterson, Eichenberg, let me know down below. When I look at the overall linebacking unit here, I look at it more from two starting linebackers. If you're going to go three LBs deep, you're probably not really going to like the depth nearly as much. What? Three LBs deep? I mean, they're going to go with a lot of times two linebackers. The starter's going to be Devine. Starter's going to be Robert Spillane. I think everybody watching the show has a lot of confidence in Robert Spillane, and I hope that he plays just the way that he did last season. If he has a little bit of a regression, I could see it just because of how good of a year that he had.
Very few people can go three LBs deep.
Three LBs deep?
Three LBs deep is wild.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think also when you consider the fact of Divine Diablo, we know that Divine has all the talent in the world from like an athletic standpoint. He lost a little bit of weight to stay, a little bit quicker sideline to sideline. It's just, I feel like every year I do this show, it's the same song and dance around Divine Diablo. Can he put it together? Can he stay healthy? Can he put it together? Can he stay healthy? That keeps on happening. Between these two linebackers here, I have a lot more confidence actually in Tommy Eichenberg. I think he's going to be a good fit with this defense. I want to see how he matures coming into this first season as a rookie. He's not a great athlete. He just always finds himself around the football. And I think a player like that with Antonio Pierce, with Patrick Graham, with Robert Spillane, you're going to be able to achieve a lot more. Masterson also didn't look great in the last preseason game. I'll be honest. I went back and I watched some film. That big touchdown run by Kene Wangu, is that how you pronounce it? Mm-hmm. That was on Masterson. Masterson, I don't know why. He was supposed to protect one area, and he just ran into the back of his defensive lineman. So I want to see a little bit more out of him. I'm going to say Tommy Eichenberg. Let's go to Evil Mitch. What's up, brother? I've seen enough. Build Peterman a statue.
Of course.
I'll say this right now. Peterman is one of those quarterbacks that gets a lot of attention, obviously, for that interception game that he had back quite some time with the Bills. And I'll kind of talk about why I think this is a low-key good signing for the Raiders here. He's got a connection with Luke Getsy. I got a lot of fun stats. I can't even believe we're talking about Nathan Peterman on the Raiders. It's so good to be back. I mean, you even said it. You said it today. You're like, we're talking about Peterman and Keelan Doss. What year is it?
Oh, I mean, we're so back. We're so freaking back. And if we were to build a statue, it actually costs a lot of money. And more money than you would think to build a statue. So, yeah. Evil Mitch, if you are in line or if anybody's in line to possibly build a statue here in the near future, there's one app that I think can help you out a ton.
I didn't know how you were going to transition into this, but I'm happy you did. Shout out to today's sponsor, Rocket Money. If you need to save some money to build a Nathan Peterman statue, I think you should go to rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. We use them. We've been using them. I've had Rocket Money out on my phone probably over 2 years at this point. So if anybody was listening up, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year using all of the app's features. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. But guess what, Chuggs? One of my favorite sponsors is also back here. We got Prize Picks.
They're back.
Yo, I'll tell you what right now. Prize Picks means football season is back. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. That way you're going to be able to get that $100 deposit match. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's really that simple. Let's go to Evil Demokes.
Now I was debating.
That's funny.
Once this came in, do we think this is from Demokes or do you think this is from Evil Mitch?
I think this is from Evil Mitch, who's also related to Evil Chuggs, who's probably also related to Evil Demokes.
You think they're all in the evil family?
This might also surprise you. Buddy Bear also controls Choco Bear and Roxy's YouTube account too. That might surprise y'all. But Peterman MVP incoming. I said this before. I said one time, a really long time ago, that if Nathan Peterman starts a game for the Raiders, again, this is a long, long time ago, and there's the Mokes. I said I'd get a Peterman tattoo above my Peterman.
Wait, if what?
I said that was a long time ago. If Peterman wins the MVP this season, I will get a Nathan Peterman tattoo above my Peterman. Lock it in. Demokes! AOC MVP incoming. Man, I hope so. Demokes, I'm telling you right now, it puts an extra $5,000 in my pocket, and I'm giving you some money as well. AOC MVP incoming. Sounds like it's going to hit really, really well this upcoming season. Let's go to LED tier. Any chance we might see Laube get some snaps with the first team this week? My question is, do you want to see more of Laube with the first team? Give me a yes, give me a no. I think one of the things that we were kind of hoping for is to get a little bit better of a look from Laube. The problem was when he went into the game, the offensive line for the Raiders was such a joke in the second half, and Anthony Brown didn't look all that great either, the Raiders' offense in general, so I literally felt like you couldn't even analyze or you couldn't even look at the Laube tape just simply because it was that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like you go back and you watch some of those Josh McDaniels offenses, you're like, what the hell am I even doing this for?
And I think this is the whole debate with all the AOC lovers of hey, it was so bad last year. How do you even say whether or not AOC was good or not?
Yeah.
How do we even evaluate his talent? It's the same thing with Dylan Laube here. We were able to see maybe one good run out of Laube against the Vikings, but besides that, he was getting met in the backfield. So it's what do you even do?
It was bad. And I kind of even, it reminded me even a little bit last season with Jacobs where, you got 8 guys in the box, and as soon as Jimmy Garoppolo or Brian Hoyer would call hike, it's no surprise you already have 2 or 3 guys in the backfield, and Jacobs can't do anything about it.
Jacobs sucks. He only averages 3.2 yards a carry.
That just tells me you didn't watch any of the games. But I do want to see just Laube out there. If we're going to have this expectation that this guy could potentially make an impact this year, well, let's see it. You know what I mean? We got to see a little bit of Amir Abdullah last week. Got to see a little bit of Zamir White. But let's see what Laube looks like in the 2-minute offense with Aidan or with Gardner. I don't need to see it with Nathan Peterman, Anthony Brown. I want to see what he actually looks like with an offense around him.
I am wondering if the new kickoff rules really affected Laube, because during our Madden season, Laube was returning them kicks. He was dynamic. He had multiple return touchdowns. Do you think the new kickoff rules maybe messed with Laube's head from, his Madden season going into the actual real playing season?
I think the only thing that's messing with Dylan Laube's head right now, if you guys didn't see the viral video of him impersonating Max Crosby, it's one of the funniest videos I have ever seen. So the final day of training camp practice, AP took all the guys to the beach, and Laube comes running out with a Crosby jersey, and he's got the crop top on, and he's acting like him. He's running all over the beach. He's moving his hands around, and he's sacking guys, and he's just making – Max is just back there laughing his ass off. I think when you see something like that, the confidence and the swagger for a young kid from New Hampshire, a 6th-round pick, for him to have the cojones to be able to do that in front of the entire team and mimic Max, I think is a really good sign of that Laube is going to make it, because you got to have that type of confidence to make it in the NFL.
Totally off base.
Crop top. Dude, can't get right. It was unbelievable.
Can you name a single city inside New Hampshire?
A single city inside of New Hampshire is the Hamptons? Where are the Hamptons located?
Is that correct?
Where are the Hamptons located?
I think that's New York, right?
Long Island.
Petey.
New Hampshire? Who?
Petey, do you know any cities in New Hampshire?
I'll tell you this right now. My geography skills are horrendous.
Does anybody know any cities inside New Hampshire?
Concord.
Concord is the capital. Oh, wow.
Nashua, which is where Holly Flax went in the office.
Awesome.
That's a good
all right,
poll.
Nashua's a good one.
That's a good poll.
Yep.
Is that those are the two?
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course.
know anybody, and I mean anybody. I don't even know what that means. All right, let's go to the next one. Rolling in here from King Shab. Should the Raiders trade for Hassan Reddick? I talked about this a little bit yesterday in a short, King. If anybody wants to answer, should the Raiders trade for Hassan, yes or no? What?
He said short king.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying now. Talk this a little bit of my short king. That's funny. The reason why I'm going to say no, the Raiders should not trade for Reddick is I think it's two reasons. And one is if you go out and you trade for Hassan Reddick, that tells me that you're just already giving up on Tyree Wilson. I think it also sends a bad message to Malcolm Kuntz because, I would actually rather the Raiders offer Malcolm Kuntz a contract extension right now that you could probably offer him somewhere between 12 to 15 million, where you're going to have to pay Reddick 20 million plus a year, plus you're going to have to give up some of that draft capital. I know the Jets general manager Douglas said that they don't want to move on from him, so I think that's the GM just saying we're not going to just give him away for free. I think the other, though, again, top of that is Telesco this offseason said that he wants to do right by his guys. That's one of the complete opposites of doing right by the guys. Would Hassan Reddick help our defense? Of course it would. Would it be a good signing? Yeah. Would it be a good trade? Yes, he would absolutely help. But I think if they do that, it's because they don't believe in Tyree Wilson or they don't want to bring back Malcolm Kuntz. And I'm just not ready to give up on those two players yet to go get Hassan Reddick. Let's go to Rebel. What's up, man? J.J. McCarthy getting injured after that post. Yeah, I never want to see a player get injured, and it's really sad just simply because, it is sad.
I don't know. It might be a rivalry game now. Mitch might have stoked the flames between Raider Nation and Vikings fans. I saw the post earlier. Mitch.
Well, it's because he said, Vikings Nation.
I saw the post earlier. I think some Vikings fans took it the wrong way.
They can take it however they want. Same thing with the people McCarthy calling the Raiders defense vanilla. People were being like, oh, Mitch, you overreacted. But when you hear a lot of the Raiders coaches and players talk this past week, there was a lot of them talking about they didn't think that we were going to bring it. And AP even said something there's nothing, we don't ever show up and we're not going to give 110%.
I'm just saying, maybe a rivalry game this year whenever the Raiders face off against the Vikings. I don't know.
Hey, yeah. I unfortunately, McCarthy's hurt. Another injury that's very interesting, though, is Hollywood Brown. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Sounds like he's got some sort of chest clavicle issue going on here.
And now I wonder, because I think the Raiders might have been in. I think
Kansas City's going to sign Juju.
Well, I was going to say that makes a little bit of sense. But I was going to say with the Raiders now releasing Keelan Doss, I really do wonder if the Raiders are waiting for 53-man cutdown day to see which guys just don't make the cut and then sign the best guy out of them. But now, if they use that strategy, I wonder if the Chiefs kind of do the same thing and if they're going to be kind of bidding for the same guys.
I mean, you could definitely look at it. I think, one of the things that the Raiders are doing is the Raiders probably have a few players in mind that they could sign. They're just going to wait until after that third preseason game to see what they end up looking like. Or even, I could see the Raiders, if you're going to announce who your starting quarterback is going to be after this Cowboys game, then you could even make a move that week because you're not going to play that person then in that third preseason game. That's going to be more for, the backups. And
yeah,
if you don't go to the third preseason game for the Raiders, that means you're a lock to make it. But I think AP would be smart to still take his entire team since it's in Las Vegas. Let's go to Salvador. What up, man? Do you guys like Tyree Wilson's get off? Giggity. He doesn't look like he's learned any new moves. Still just a power rush guy, losing patience with him. This is actually something that I talked about in my Overreaction Sunday video, if you want to go check it out. But I said it Chuggs and I both have been people that are we believe in Tyree. We want him to put it together. He does have talent. But then there's that other part of sooner or later he's got to be able to get it done. and his get off was very concerning. And I don't even know if it's a get off. Like, he wasn't getting off anywhere. I mean, it was slow, dude. It was slow.
And I just go back to saying
I think you got to put him inside now.
I don't think he's going to have any success being a defensive end in the league. I think in a 3-4 defense, yeah, he can be a defensive end and be kind of that role in a 3-4 where he kind of shades inside, maybe will be over the tackle. But in the Raiders 4-3 or 4-2, as you know, you've kind of said
5-2. I mean, they lined up 5-2.
I think he's really got to play that inside role and be the guy who's eating up blocks and who's just pushing the pocket up in the interior of the defense.
He's definitely a strong player, and I think also when you look at the tape, like Byron Young has absolutely no anchor, right? Like, he's a 290, 300-pound defensive tackle that can't move anyone and just gets pushed back. If you're the Raiders and you see how bad Byron did in that whole regard, and if you're going to go out there with 3 starting defensive tackles, I mean, that's what they did. They went Adam Butler, John Jenkins, Christian Wilkins. Like, to me, if that's the route that you're going to go, then I would try to add another defensive end because I don't know if I have confidence in Tyree, and then I would have Tyree kick inside and just get a little bit more reps in there because you can see the strength. You can see the power. But you're right. I mean, he is a fastball pitcher that throws 97, and he's got nothing else.
He's a closer.
It is a flat 97 fastball.
He's a closer.
Can you hit it? I don't even know if he's a closer, man. Let's go to True Raider Podcast towards the Nathan Peterman statue. Hey, we're going to slowly build this thing brick by brick. What up, VR, Jaden? Dak next year, there's a chance. Like, you know, I actually got asked today in the office, if I was a betting man, who would I bet to be the Raiders' starting quarterback next season? I mean, I said Dak Prescott. Like, because I don't know if it's Aidan. I don't know if it's Gardner Minshew. Because to me, if Aidan and Gardner don't take this team to the playoffs, you have to look at another option. I don't see the Raiders being a bottom 5, bottom 10 team. I see them being somewhere right around that 8, 9, 10 win mark with the quarterback play that we have. And if you know that you have a Super Bowl caliber defense like this team does have, like, you might have to make a decision of potentially bringing in Dak. And it's one of the things that I talked about when I released the video last week about big news for the Raiders. Like, if the Raiders, you go to an only salary cap, right, with only QB salary cap, it could happen. But, I mean, there is a chance that Dak is the quarterback next year. We still got to see what happens this year. If the Raiders go to the playoffs with Aidan or Gardner, then no, it's not going to happen.
Give me Noah Fafita.
Who?
The Arizona quarterback.
Oh, you've mentioned him before. Cam Ward, I'll continue to say, is probably one of my favorite quarterback prospects.
I'm telling you, I know we got a lot of West Coasters out here. Keep an eye on Arizona and Noah Fafita. He's going to be nice this year.
If the Raiders don't make the playoffs, anything is on the table. If they make the playoffs, then no, you stick with your guy.
I'm calling it. He's the Jaden Daniels of this year's class.
Okay.
Where nobody really knows his name now, but then once draft, kind of like the pre-draft process comes around, you're going to be hearing a lot of Fafita.
Do you like Fafita?
Oh, I love Fafita. I'm a Fafita guy.
Yeah?
I have a Fafita fetish.
Fafita fetish. That sounds like a T-shirt. All right, man, we got 550 people here watching the show. Husker Raider, tell them right now. Click that like button. Who is a quarterback the Raiders could sign or trade for? What's funny enough is when we put this question in the show, the Raiders didn't go out and sign Nathan Peterman yet, for the record.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Whatever Poncho asked, if Minshew and Aidan don't work out, who's a midseason quarterback signing LV can sign and trade for? This question still makes sense.
Yeah.
This now changes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you need the above to go below.
Here's the real truth. The Raiders aren't going to sign or trade for a quarterback at this point to be a starter. They made their move at QB today. That was to add Nathan Peterman. That's going to help out the backup battle because the only quarterback available on the free agent market is Ryan Tannehill. And quite frankly, I think you're going to have to pay more money to Tannehill to be able to bring him in. So right now, let's say the Raiders are at $34.5 million in salary cap space. You're probably going to have to eat half of that salary cap space to go out and get Ryan Tannehill. That also then impacts your ability to be able to give extensions to Trevon Merrick, Robert Spillane, Malcolm Kuntz, Nate Hobbs, which that's something that I think the Raiders, everybody's sitting around waiting for them to make a big-time free agency splash. I think they're looking at that $34.5 million trying to evaluate some of the talent that they have because they have a lot of players next season. They have 6 starters that are going to be free agents next year.
I mean,
at least.
We talked about a quarterback that might not make the Rams roster.
Jimmy Garoppolo won't make the team. Dude, it's been reported multiple times by multiple Rams beat reporters that they don't think Jimmy G is going to make the team.
What would be your one-word reaction if midseason you saw Raiders signing Jimmy G.
Dude, honestly, I don't know how, if it would be a one word, it would just be, I think we would just play that Michael Scott gif when he sees Toby. We just play that for 8 minutes. It's me starting the show off going, the Las Vegas Raiders have signed Jimmy Garoppolo. I take off my headset, and then for the next 7 minutes and 30 seconds, just Michael Scott. No, God, no. And that's the video. I'm not talking about that.
Rebel said puked. Glenn says barf.
Exactly.
Do you think his offer still stands at the Bunny Ranch?
Probably. I mean, I don't know how many, again, I've actually never been to the Bunny Ranch. I don't know how many millionaires are rolling in there that look like Jimmy Garoppolo. I have a feeling that they would probably be happy that he walked in there. Again, I've never been to the ranch, but I think people would still be happy that Jimmy G's there. Hell, if Jimmy G showed up at my house, I'm unfortunately the least happy person about that. Alex is ecstatic. Chuck's probably excited. All around.
See, that's not Danny's flow. She's not a big Jimmy G guy.
Good.
She likes OBJ.
Oh yeah? Touche. What about no BJ? August bang race.
That's me.
Here's as it stands right now. Ed Robbins is in first place. Noah Santana's got 8. He's in second. David Zahn, Justin Abgen got 6. John Scheffler in 5th place. This week, when the Raiders play the Cowboys, I'm going to be wearing a Justin Abgen, also John Scheffler jersey during that game. Also, for those of you that don't know, the Raiders are expecting 40,000 plus fans tomorrow at practice. Jeremy Chuggs and I are going to be at that practice, so if you're going to be there, make sure you guys just say hello if you see us. Believe it or not, we appreciate it when we actually can meet people face to face. You see the face, not just the YouTube icon.
There's 630 people in here. Can I get a tally of, is there going to be anybody at camp tomorrow?
Anybody going to be at practice tomorrow? We're going to be there with David Zahn and Taino Raider. So be on the lookout.
Give me a yes, give me a no. I want to see who we can expect to try to. I want to see if I can pick some people out in the crowd. Maybe see if anybody who's watching our show today is going to be there tomorrow. Is there going to be anybody who's there tomorrow? Rebel said he's going to be there.
Sienna's excited to go to the game, which I just remembered. Sienna was the one that won our ticket raffle. We did a Raiders Cowboys preseason ticket raffle. Shout out to Blaine
Both
Craig.
Games. Week 1 and 2 she's going to.
Oh yeah. All right, humble flex here, Sienna. Relax, beast. Joshua in spirit. I feel you. Blaine Craig, unfortunately not. St. Michael says, I'm going to be there on the 20th. Fair enough. I want to see how many Raider fans are actually going to be there tomorrow. I mean, if it's 40,000 plus people.
Raider Nando says he'll be there tomorrow.
It holds 65. I'll be there from Nando. Hey, if you see Chuggs or I, seriously, just say hi. I want to meet people that watch the show.
Savage said, I'm going to be there throwing tomatoes.
Tomatoes? That would be crazy. I don't think you're going to get in with tomatoes. I'm going to be real. They wouldn't let us in with
Only if in that same bag you had cilantro, onion, some jalapenos,
Even
maybe
then.
some limes. And they're like, no, this guy's obviously making some pico.
I think yours have a less chance of getting in. Though I will admit, if you just had a bag of tomatoes, that's suspicious.
Yeah, if you had all the ingredients and they're like, I don't like y'all's pico.
I don't think that's how it works. Coming up here live on today's show, let's talk here a little bit about Nathan Peterman, why I think that there's a legit chance that he makes this Raiders roster. Then we're going to take an inside look against the Raiders preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys. And as always, if anybody's got any questions, comments, use hashtag Raiders or you can super chat. We are also going to be on the lookout for Brandon Aiyuk trade. Not going to be traded to the Raiders, obviously, but there has been a lot of reports, one from Ian Rappaport that essentially said that the Steelers and Brandon Aiyuk, the 49ers, there is a trade right now. It's just the 49ers have to accept it, right? It's basically what was said.
Basically, the whole thing is the trade, what each side is going to trade is in set. They have agreed on a outline of a deal for this trade. Now, I think the 49ers are doing some last-ditch efforts to see, hey, can we possibly still sway Brandon Aiyuk to stay? Because I don't think, this whole time they haven't wanted to trade him.
Comes down to money.
Yeah, they haven't wanted to trade him. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
I hope so. Jonathan, what's up, man? I don't understand why no one is talking about bringing in Carson Wentz for a workout, at least.
He's with the Chiefs.
I was going to say, well, he's with Kansas City. He's the backup quarterback there. Like, I will admit there is a part of me that wonders, like, if Carson, I mean, he's going to make that team. Would you trade for Carson Wentz? Would you trade a 5th-round pick right now for Carson Wentz? Because if I'm Kansas City, I would want a 5th for Carson. He's the backup QB on my team.
The thing is with the Raiders, I mean, nobody that you can get right now,
correct,
unfortunately, is better than AOC or Gardner Minshew. There's nobody out there.
Like, would you rather have Carson Wentz, Gardner Minshew, or Aidan O'Connell? Like,
the only person who I'm like, maybe, just maybe, is Ryan Tannehill, but that's a huge maybe.
That's a sign.
And that's an expensive maybe. That maybe also, if you add him and he's a little bit better, I think only adds 1 win to your win column.
Yeah, I think for the Raiders, if you're going to try to make a move at quarterback, you go for a guy that is a no-doubt upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, if you add Ryan Tannehill, your prediction maybe goes from 10-6-1 to maybe 11-5-1.
I think the other option, which I don't know how the rules necessarily go, and it's crazy, and I know a lot of Raider fans wouldn't like it. I mean, I would wonder if Tom Brady would be an option. Like, jokingly, like, I would rather have Tom Brady, I think, than Ryan Tannehill.
I'd rather have Cass Joey.
Cass Joey! Bang! All right, man. Was thinking of going, still a toss-up. We'll be at the week 1 and 3 games, though. How much playing time first-team defense playing this game? I'd like a series to get them game ready. So in terms of the Raiders, I anticipate the Raiders to play essentially the exact same way that they did last week for the first half, where the first half is going to be a lot of AOC Gardner. It's going to be a lot of the starters on offense. I could see the Raiders playing more starters on the offensive side of the football than on the defense, where defense, I could see them taking a few players out. Like, I don't think we're going to see Mad Max. I don't think we're going to see Wilkins. They might still, like, want to throw out, like, a Jakorian Bennett. I don't know if we're going to see Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones. You'll probably see a Tyree Wilson and Adam Butler. Jenkins, John, I don't know if he'll go just because he's a veteran up there in age a little bit. For the Cowboys, and we'll talk about them a little bit today, they're not going to play a lot of their starters. I was talking to Tom, and Tom told me essentially, like, you could see 5 to 10 starters there for the Dallas Cowboys. But for me in this game, it's really just concentrating on the offense.
Cass, you should go.
Dude, Cass, you should go.
We're going to have a great dinner tomorrow night.
I'm excited for the Raiders practice, don't get me wrong. The dinner, though, I am probably as equally excited for just because I can't wait to grub out on some food.
You talked to Joel today, right?
Well, no, he hasn't responded back to my text, but, I mean, I'm going to anticipate 50 reservations have been made. Like, that's the number in my mind that I think we're probably around. And even if 50 Raider fans showed up to have dinner with us at a really nice steakhouse, like, that's awesome. Because I'll also admit this, I don't know if it's 50 reservations, like, where you make a reservation, or is it like, I made the reservation, but I'm bringing 2? You know what I mean? So I actually don't know. If it's like 50 people, not many people, if it's 50 reservations, not many people come by themselves. I think we're going to pack it. I do. I was talking to Blue Richards.
Usually people come together.
Sure. But Blue I was talking to her last night. She's never met you. And she was like, oh, me and my friend, we're going to pull up so we can meet Chuggs. Like, I don't know, Blue, I don't know if you're listening to the show right
Savage now. Says, I can only pay for 30 people.
Well, hey, maybe someday.
And our Broncos host, Matthew Peterson, was actually asking you the same question yesterday from Evil Mitch. Bo Nix looks good.
I mean, it was the preseason game, and he did look good. I'm not going to lie to you. I still don't think Bo's a good quarterback. Like,
I'm literally locking eyes with our Broncos host right now.
I mean, I would say this to the same people that were after a first preseason game saying C.J. Stroud sucks, because Stroud didn't look good in that first preseason game. I'm going to trust my eyes. I'm going to trust everything I've watched on Nix, and Bo, to me, doesn't do anything at a high level in the NFL. Now, I will admit, and we also did say this, that the perfect landing spot for Bo was the Broncos with Sean Payton. That I will admit. I just don't think that Bo Nix, though, is a very good quarterback. And I'll stick with that. I'm not worried about Bo at all. Coming up live here on the Raiders Report.
Bo doesn't know?
In that case, you're right. Bo doesn't know in that case. Coming up here live on the show, let's talk about Nathan Peterman and why I think that he legitimately can make this roster. I'll kind of go through all the reasons why. Then we're going to take an inside look against the Dallas Cowboys. And as always, we're going to be answering your questions here, so please use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. This is the final and only live show that we're going to do this week until the Raiders and Cowboys play on Saturday, just because of our schedule with us going out to Vegas and all the nuances in with that. So, hey, just keep that in mind if you do want us to answer some questions here. Are you ready to get this one rolling? What?
Yeah. Look at Zahn's last comment.
Mr. Zahn. Yep. John, just so you know, Jeremy and I are only bringing flip-flops and sandals for this whole trip. I don't anticipate wearing shoes at all.
Oh, yeah.
Only flip-flops and sandals the whole trip.
I found some shoes where it actually cuts off just my toes. So it's like you can actually see my toes outside of the shoe just for Zahn.
That's wild.
Yeah.
We should get some of those socks, too. You know what I mean?
I have the shoes where each toe has its individual like little holder. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have those, so maybe Zahn can give it a nice little looky-loo.
There's no doubt that's the only reason why Zahn's coming. Giggity. Let's go. Let's talk about Peterman. Coming up here today on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you why Nathan Peterman has a real chance to make the Raiders 53-man roster over Anthony Brown and over Carter Bradley. When the news broke on Tuesday, I literally couldn't even believe that I was reading it the right way. The Raiders signed Nathan Peterman. Unfortunately, they were moving on from Keelan Doss. But when I broke this news down on YouTube, if you haven't seen it yet, that's why you got to be subscribed. But when you got the notification that Nathan Peterman was a Raider again, I can't even say it without cracking a smile. And I was sitting here wondering, what year is it? Is Gruden coming back? But if you cracked a smile, a grin, if just you had a little bit of happiness when you saw that Nathan Peterman was a Raider again, I want you to hit that subscribe button, because I could not describe a better feeling that I had of there's no way that Nathan Peterman is a Raider again, man. So coming up here, we're going to be breaking down why I think that he does end up making this roster here for the Silver and Black. The first reason, and this is the reason why he was signed. If you're a fan out there going, Mitch, why the heck did we sign Nathan Peterman? It doesn't make any sense. Here's the thing. I actually think it does make some sense. Quite frankly, I think it makes a lot of sense. And he's got some experience with Luke Getsy, which is very important if you're going to make a signing like this. At this point in the offseason, reminder, Peterman was on the Bears from 2022 to 2023. So that's 2 seasons, 2 years playing underneath, guess who? Luke Getsy in this offense. And, he was on the active and on the practice squad last year. He actually got cut, I want to say, 3 different times by Chicago, and then he would automatically just basically make their practice squad. But Peterman, he looked good last season in the preseason, and I can go back a few years ago when Peterman looked really good with Gruden, and he's always looked pretty damn sharp in the preseason. But look at some of these numbers here, right? In 2023, the preseason last year, he was 14-24 for 173 yards and 1 touchdown. In the 2022 preseason, so the first year that he had to learn the Getsy offense, 14-24 for 178 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Well, let's look at Peterman's stats in 2022, because he did get 1 start. He appeared in 3 games, 14-25, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't know if just every time Peterman steps on the field, if he's going to have to only complete 14 balls. It's something to look at. But from a career standpoint with Getsy, this is the regular and preseason over the past 2 years, he's got a completion percentage of 57.5. Obviously not great, but 490 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Comparing the other quarterback play that we've seen the preseason outside of Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, and if anybody out there says Nathan Peterman being signed by the Raiders is bad news for Aidan or Gardner, grow up. It's just not it at all. The only thing that it's bad news for is for Carter Bradley and Anthony Brown. That's the only bad news around the Nathan Peterman signing. So let me know down below. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Will Nathan Peterman make the Raiders 53-man roster? I want you to give me a yes, or I want you to type no down below. My answer is going to be yes, and you're going to be able to hear a lot of the reasons why throughout this entire show, but you're about to get hit with that YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. I am going to say if he plays well against the Cowboys and he plays well against the 49ers, I do think that he's a lock to make this team as the QB3. And then even if the Raiders want to only keep 2 quarterbacks and keep Peterman on the practice squad, since you can elevate a QB every single game day, it could be something to look at. But if it ended right now, the preseason, and the Raiders had the quarterbacks that we currently have on this roster, I would be betting that Peterman makes it over Anthony Brown, that he makes it over Carter Bradley. Obviously, he's still got to go out there and perform at a decent level, but the Raiders signed him to be a practice squad backup QB3 that knows the Luke Getsy offense. Let's go to the next reason here why Peterman makes the roster. Anthony Brown has struggled of late, and I just want to say this right from the jump. I know that he almost had an unfair, not even almost, it was unfair to evaluate Brown's game in that preseason one simply because the offensive line was terrible. They couldn't block for him, and you couldn't really evaluate much there. The problem, though, is Brown did throw 2 interceptions in the Raiders' inter-squad scrimmage, and over the final week of Raiders training camp, AB, he did, man. He struggled a little bit. So when you look at the execution of Luke Getsy's offense, right, Aidan O'Connell, Nathan Peterman is a closer quarterback to Aidan O'Connell. Nathan Peterman is a closer quarterback to Gardner Minshew, where Anthony Brown, the skill set, it's not quite relative. And if I'm going to go out there and if I'm going to try to, make sure that my guys are getting solid reps in that second preseason game, to make sure that my guys are getting solid reps in that third preseason game, during the regular season, during practice, I want to make sure that I have a quarterback that fits my team's needs and fits my offensive system a little bit better. Simply put, that is Nathan Peterman. It's not Anthony Brown. Now, if Brown was going out there and balling out, this would be a totally different conversation. But this signing was made due to Anthony Brown's struggles and also Carter Bradley's struggles. We'll talk about more of why I think Nathan Peterman has a real shot to make this 53-man. Before I do, though, Prize Picks is back, and I am super, and I mean super fired up around it because I love Prize Picks, and you've probably watched our show a lot last season, and I want all y'all to download the app today. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. All you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. If you want to know what my Prize Picks are for week 1 right now, all you can do on Prize Picks, if you want to look at the Week 1 Raiders game, here are the only 3 players that you can pick right now. So I'm going to go more with Devontae Adams, 71.5 receiving yards. Why? He torches the Chargers year in and year out, and I think he remembers that whole Pop-Tart debacle that they posted. I'm going to say less receiving yards for Brock Bowers, not because I don't believe in Brock, just it's hard to get acclimated to the NFL right away, and I do think that they're going to use Michael Mayer quite a bit. Justin Herbert on 239.5 passing yards. I'm going to give him the more on that simply because I do think Herbert's going to sling it. It will be interesting, though, to see this one because he is dealing with that plantar fascia injury. And if that continues to linger and we don't know the availability of Herbert, maybe they do decide to run the football just a little bit more. So, again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Cali, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks is simple. You pick more than or less than. It's really that easy. Get started now if you haven't already. Those links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description on today's show. All right, let's go to the next one here. No trust in Carter Bradley. You have to be able to admit the Raiders showed zero confidence in Carter Bradley. In fact, you look at that final fourth quarter of that game. They didn't pass the ball a single time. And he didn't attempt a single pass in the fourth quarter. They did 9 straight runs, and it was a 3-and-out every single time. The Raiders want more reliable quarterback 3. They want a more reliable depth because, if you're going to go into that second preseason game and into that third preseason game, if you're the silver and black, you still need to be able to evaluate your wide receiver room. And if you don't have confidence in Bradley, and if you don't have confidence in Anthony Brown to be able to get the most out of that QB battle, well then, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. And once the Raiders finally name that starting quarterback, which AP's hoping to be able to do after this preseason game, I think it does go back to, okay, there's still probably going to be somewhat of a battle after AP names it. I mean, whoever is the QB1 will end up being the QB1, but you still need to get good practice reps with the amount of roster players that we have that could potentially make it, especially at that wide receiver position. Let's go to the next reason here why Peterman makes the roster potentially. I'm going to say he's a very intelligent quarterback. And a lot of times when you see the Peterman highlights, again, it goes back to the Bills game where he threw all those interceptions. But just because he threw those interceptions doesn't mean that he's not smart. He is a very, very intelligent quarterback who's played in multiple systems, got 7 years underneath his belt, and he keeps getting chances because of his ability to pick up and understand a playbook. I can remember John Gruden many years ago when he was the head coach of the Raiders talking about why when he kept bringing back Peterman, and it was like, he was so smart, he could lay a playbook down in front of him, and he'd be able to learn it and understand it and be able to help out a lot of other people, being able to pick up that playbook. So to me, Peterman is a great practice squad or preseason quarterback to just go out there and execute the plays. Like, multiple coaches have said this about Peterman, and I know a lot of times people are like, well, how the heck does this guy keep getting jobs? He keeps getting jobs in the NFL because he does his job very well. His job is not to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. His job is not to be a QB2 in the NFL. He is a very, very good and reliable quarterback 3, which might seem like a type of job, but he's making a lot more than you and I. That I can guarantee you. Before I get into the final reason here, I do want to give a shout-out to our August Comment King Club. Noah Santana's at 115, but actually, this list has not been updated. Also, I got to give a shout-out to John Butson. Butson's in the lead with 167. So if anybody out there has commented more than 167 times on a video, that's how you're going to become the comment king. So that's the challenge out there. Might even be 176. It's either 167 or 176. So John Butson, I want you to know you're still the comment king. The question is, will anybody take him down? Let's go to the final reason here of why Peterman makes the Raiders roster. He is a solid quarterback mentor. Last year, multiple Chicago Bears coaches kept on talking about how he's just a good mentor for a Tyson Bagent, for a good quarterback like a Justin Fields. And if you're Getsy, then you know that those are all the truths. Carr and Gruden have spoke very, very highly of him. And, his early struggles, I think, have helped him make him a better mentor. There are not many NFL quarterbacks that have the memes that Nathan Peterman has, right? Like, Peterman is a recognizable name simply because of all the memes, of all the things that people said about him. And, mentally, you got to be able to, that's got to make you a very sharp player to be able to keep, I'm going to use a Bachelor reference. Alex is going to hate me here. The main thing. And Peterman has done that, I think, being able to do, like, keeping his eye on the ball, keeping him, like, understanding what his job ultimately is. But when you have somebody who can be a good mentor, and, I'm not even talking about Peterman being a good mentor to Aidan and Gardner, like he can help them pick up the playbook a little bit better, which probably would help out their quarterback play. But it's also being a mentor for some of these younger players, the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, being able to understand and be able to digest what the Luke Getsy offense is, because that is very important. It's something that even Devontae Adams has spoke about, how he feels like he's understanding the Getsy offense, and maybe not having Devontae there for the last week of being that guy who also has some of that past experience in the Getsy offense was showed them like, hey, we need somebody else that could at least be a player, coach, teacher, and that's what Nathan Peterman's going to do here. So here's one more time why I think Peterman could potentially make the Raiders roster. The biggest reason is he already has some of that experience with Luke Getsy. He's a better option than Anthony Brown. He's a better option, and the Raiders have a lot more confidence in Peterman than they do Carter Bradley, quite frankly. I think Bradley probably gets cut this week, depending on, this video when it goes out. And he's also intelligent. He can be a solid quarterback mentor. All those reasons are why I think Nathan Peterman does end up making the 53-man roster or will be the Raiders practice squad quarterback over AB and Carter Bradley. All right, let's go to Mount Up 86.
Can I get a oh yeah?
Oh yeah. Is this team looking for an additional or any positional needs with unsigned free agents? What's the bigger need right now, you think? Corner or offensive line?
Offensive line.
What do you guys think? Corner or offensive line?
Offensive line, 100%. And it might be a little close, but I do think it's offensive line because you have more injuries there. You at least have your top guys there at the cornerback position. You have Jack Jones, you have Nate Hobbs. They both have looked good, and they're both healthy.
Yeah.
Your top offensive lineman, Colton Miller, has yet to see the field. So, I mean, I think it's easily offensive line. Yes, you maybe have more depth at the offensive line position, but I still am a little worried about it. Like,
I'm worried about that. The offensive line was...
Even though it's good depth, I'm still worried if they roll out week 1 and it's Andres Pete and Cody Whitehair on the left side of that offensive line.
Cody Whitehair cannot start in the NFL anymore. He can't, dude. Like, he's not a reliable starting offensive option. Now, if Whitehair's the 8th offensive lineman on your team and he can be a backup at center or guard, sure. What I'm really concerned about is, JPJ's dealt with a bunch of different injuries. Colton Miller, we haven't seen him out there yet. But, I don't know the last time I've seen such a bad offensive line performance from a unit in an entire half of football. To me, that's the more concerning part. Now, I understand the players that played in the third and the fourth quarter, they're not going to end up making this team. At least, I don't anticipate any of them. But, to see the drop-off in depth that quickly, I do think that was concerning for me.
Yeah.
It was. You guys agree? Corner, offensive line. I do see a lot of offensive lines. Like Terrell says offensive line, DH. Allen Bailey's going to go there. Frank says linebacker. Interesting. I don't think that linebacker's as big of a need for this team just based off of the way that they're going to, play defense this year. Can't Control Life, Buzz O'Matic, Blaine Craig, Jeremy Cole are all going for offensive line.
Jason Goots, if you haven't watched the video that we put out this morning, go ahead and check it out because actually Mitch gave his full take on David Bakhtiari and possibly adding him. I don't want to give it away. I don't think you should either. I think if you want to know more about these offensive line prospects that the Raiders possibly could sign towards the end of training camp, go watch our video that we put out this morning.
Seriously. And, I think it was just more of in case the Raiders don't know what's going on with Colton, in case the Raiders don't know what's going on with JPJ, I think it was I did seven players that the Raiders could potentially sign. So if you guys want to go check it out, please make sure you do so. Chuggs, I got to put on a different jersey here, so just if you could hold down the fort for a minute or two.
I actually did want to mention something to all the fans out there because
you don't say.
There is a great shirt out there that I think everybody should go check out. The new AP Law t-shirts. I mean, they're dope. They're absolutely dope. And me and Mitch have kind of talked about how these AP Law t-shirts, which you can actually get right now at or pre-order at chatsports.com/AP Law. But I think it kind of signifies a new era of Raiders football because we've kind of been in this muck the past couple of years. Mitch has kind of mentioned, there was the whole John Gruden debacle with Mike Mayock and kind of all the stuff that went around with that. And then you had, obviously, the shit show that was Josh McDaniels. But I love these new shirts. The AP motto, you showed up, we showed out. New chapter, new beginning. If you want to get yourself fitted in one of these shirts right here, this is actually me. This is actually me in this picture right here, obviously in an AP Law t-shirt. If you want to rock this shirt, just like I would, I'll put the link down in the comment section for you. I believe we have the link. I'll make sure to put it in there for you. But go get yourself a new AP Law t-shirt. I actually don't see the link right here. I'll type it out. Let's see.
Did I not put it in there?
That's okay.
That's on me. Chatsports.com/AP Law. That's how you can get your hands on that bad boy.
And your toes.
Yeah, I guess. If you needed to get your toes on it as well, it is an option. Right. Absolutely an option.
This is me right here. If you want to look just like me in that picture.
That is actually a really good angle of you.
Yeah. I mean, I told them I don't want to use my face just because, I feel like it's not fair.
That makes sense.
Just because I want them to see, I want them to focus on the shirt. I don't want them to focus on me.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I said, hey, crop my face out of it. Just show me in the shirt. So this is what came up.
Oh, that is AI-generated Jeremy Chuggs right there. It's a good-looking Chuggs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we actually call him Jeremy Girths. Jeremy Girths right there. All right, y'all, let's get into the next segment coming up here on today's show. We're going to look at a inside look against the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a new segment. What? You look like you're going to say something.
Oh, no, I was just going to say there's a couple questions maybe that I wanted to roll through just because there were some more hashtag Raiders that came through, and I'm trying to do a little bit of a better job of getting to some of y'all's questions. I know I get DMs sometimes where it's like, I used hashtag Raiders and you never even talked about me. Well, Frank, we're talking about you.
How about Sam Howell played well with the Commanders and is agile? I mean, I would be open to the idea of Sam Howell. Like, I'll admit, when he was first coming out of North Carolina, I didn't love it. I do think that he was put in a bad situation last season. Like, the Eric Bieniemy offense was okay. I think it's a dynamic offense. The offensive line, though, for Washington was horrendous. The skill position players, not very good at all. My question to you, though, is do you think Sam Howell is an upgrade over Aidan O'Connell? Do you think that he is an upgrade over Gardner Minshew? Like, you know, I don't know if I do at this point. Like, if I'm going to make a move at the quarterback position, I am going to make a move that, in my mind, I sit down and I go, that is no doubt an upgrade over the guy that we have. I could probably pick out some things from Howell's game if I sit down and really watch his tape and go, he does that better than Minshew, he does that better than Aidan. But I also know that I can look at Aidan and Minshew's tape and Howell's tape and go, well, Gardner and Aidan do a lot of things better than what Sam Howell does on top of that. Like, I understand it, but again, if we're going to make a move at QB, let's actually make a legit move at quarterback. Like, this is you trying to fix your quarterback problem by laying down a bunt and trying to hit a single. If we're going to fix the QB problem, let's go swing for the fences because we already have hit a single with Minshew and Aidan. Let's hit the home run ball now. Yeah, we might strike out, but sometimes you got to try. Let's go to Jamie. I feel like Milton with this offense would be crazy.
Talking about Joe Milton.
Joe Milton stinks.
Don't say that around Pete. Yeah, I mean,
there's been hype around Joe Milton, but it's also because, like,
you're already on Petey's bad side. Now you're shit-talking Joe Milton.
He's not good. Joe Milton's going to be a fun quarterback in the preseason. He played with he was in the fourth quarter of that Patriots game. He's not good. Joe Milton is not even close to Aidan and Gardner Minshew. There's nobody that has a brain that's taken Joe Milton over Aidan and Gardner Minshew. I mean, come on. Like, there's no way. Milton can't throw a football.
There's two volunteers out there that beg to differ.
Who? Please let me know.
Petey and Joey.
Oh, they're Tennessee guys. The only reason why that they think Joe Milton's good is because he's a Tennessee guy.
Glenn, stop.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Glenn, that's hilarious.
Let's go to Eddie. What up, Eddie? What's your opinion on Jakorian Bennett so far? I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised. There's definitely times where you can still see that he's maybe a little bit too aggressive. And I always say with some of these like young corners, and you know, you even kind of saw it a little bit last week with MJ Devonshire. Very good athletes. Like Jakorian is a really good athlete, needs to get his technique down a little bit better. Devonshire, really good athlete, needs to get his technique down a little bit better. And sometimes like moves and things that they've been able to do in college because they have that quick recovery, they're not getting away with it in the NFL. But to me, Jakorian just got to go out there and he can't give up the big play. He's got to do a better job of being a little bit more comfortable, being able to react and say, all right, I can give up the 5-yard out. I can give up the 6 or 7 as long as you don't give up the 20. But Bennett's done a better job. And I think any Raider fan out there is hoping, being a rookie's tough. Being a rookie with Josh McDaniels, really, really difficult. If you believe in AP, if you believe in Patrick Graham, then you should believe in Jakorian Bennett. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to believe in Jakorian, and I hope that he takes a step like Malcolm Kuntz and also a player, even like Trevon Merrick did last season. Let's go to Paul. What up, man? Would the Raiders trade for Cooper Rush?
Wait, did you say his last name?
Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Guglielmino. Guglielmino. Paul Guglielmino. Would the Raiders trade for Cooper Rush? Quite frankly, I don't think the Cowboys trade Cooper Rush to you. I think with some of their, like
Trey Lance is actually kind of bad.
It's important to have a good backup quarterback in the NFL. I know that might surprise some people, but it is an important job. And I know the Cowboys really do trust Cooper Rush a lot, and they like to have him as a backup, especially when, if Dak were to go down, they would have confidence in Cooper to be able to go out there And Trey Lance has been atrocious. Like, we talk about quarterbacks and Trey Lance I've brought up multiple times on the show simply because he's got that connection with the Raiders quarterback coach, Rich Scangarello. Rich Scangarello was a part of that 49ers offense, or I guess roster, back in 2021, where they traded for 3 first-round picks to go up and get Lance. So, there's that connection. But no, they're not going to do it. Now, if the Raiders offered, what would you want for Cooper Rush? Because if I'm a Cowboys fan, I go, give me a 4th-round pick. I don't even think a 5th-round pick's enough. And I'm not giving up a 4th-round pick for Cooper Rush. Because, again, is he better than Gardner Minshew? I don't know. Is he better than Aidan O'Connell? I don't know. It's still a debate. Make a quarterback trade. Got to be a no-doubt clear upgrade. Jonathan, what's up, brother? Appreciate the super chat. Reminder, if you want to get those questions on the show, it's #Raiders or super chat. If you super chat, it's like the Fast Pass at Disney. You get to skip the line. Who would you look into being...
Who would you look to being added to the offensive line depth? Also, what do you think of trying to replace Cody Whitehair with somebody like maybe a Justin Pugh?
I would say this. You should definitely watch the video I put out this morning.
Yeah, this exact question is answered in the video we put out this morning.
And I mean that. So, again, we talked about the Jackson Powers-Johnson injury news. We talked about Colt Miller's injury news. That was all broken down this morning. Jeremy and I put that video out probably at 11:15 Eastern time, so a little bit earlier, 8:15 on the West Coast. Check it out, and I break down 7 offensive linemen that I could see the Raiders potentially picking up the phone and giving a call. And Justin Pugh's on that list.
This one coming in from Risky.
What's up, Risky? AOC is not good. Minshew is better. I don't think that that's a fair thing to say. I think what people have done is they have made this expectation for Aidan O'Connell way too high, where, you talk to a lot of other people, and right now and I don't like this, what's happening right now in the Raiders content creator world and Raider Nation in general, where by me saying that Aidan is a good backup quarterback in the NFL and that he's not a top 20 guy, people are like, that makes you a hater. No, that's just me giving you my honest opinion, where right now there's a lot of content creators out there that are afraid to say, Aidan's maybe not the right guy, where I'm going to do my job and always give you guys my honest opinion, because I don't think that people tune into the show to be told lies. I also people hopefully respect my opinion. That's why you're tuning in. We have over 171,000 subscribers for a reason. But I also think about it as if I'm going to sit down with my family and friends, my closest people, and if you're doing something that I don't like, I'm going to tell you that, because that's the way that it should be.
And you always say Raider Nation is a family. It's like this. When you're first dating a girl,
Sure.
right, and she makes you a meal and you really don't like it,
you're going to eat it.
You're going to eat that meal. You're going to be like, I don't really like it, but I can't.
I don't even know if I would say that. I'd say it's good.
Yeah, you're like, I can't really say anything. I'll have some.
Absolutely.
At this point in your relationship with Alex, if she makes you dinner and it's absolutely awful, are you eating that meal?
Depends if I have a shot that night. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I would tell Alex that maybe he's not my favorite, and that's okay. That doesn't make me an Alex hater.
Yeah, that means you don't like that particular meal that Alex made. That doesn't mean you don't like any meals that Alex has ever made.
Sure. And, I think with Aidan, the expectation is just too high. Aidan, to me, is exactly what Aidan O'Connell has always been. To me, what we are getting out of Aidan is what I've thought of Aidan all along. I don't think Aidan's play this offseason is any different than what I expected. I think it's exactly what I expected. Do I think Minshew is better at times? Yeah. But I also can say that I think at times Aidan has been better than Gardner, where Aidan to me is the safer QB. He's got the safer floor, but the upside's not there to me. Gardner is a quarterback that I do think helps us achieve a little bit more, but his floor is a lot scary, and we're going to lose games because he's going to turn over the football and get careless with it. Do I also think that there's a chance that Gardner's the franchise quarterback? No, I do not. Do I think that Aidan's going to be the franchise quarterback? No, I do not. But to me, maybe there's a chance that Aidan can do that, because I do think Aidan's got it up here, where this to me is a lot more difficult to get for a QB, and Aidan does have it up here where just the physical gifts aren't there. He's got a below average arm strength. He's not good mobility in the pocket. Can you get better with that stuff over time? Sure, but does Antonio Pierce-Telesco have the time for it? I'm not necessarily sure. Let's go to Noah. Turn on the noties. Noah Santana is a part of that noti gang. Who here is a part of the noti gang?
That's a huge turn on for me.
Huge turn on. When somebody hits those noties?
Once I found out that my current wife Danny had her noties turned on, rev me up.
Dude, I'll tell you
Rev me all the way up. Put me in that AP Law t-shirt. Roam.
Lowrider. Michael, Dak will be quarterback 1 in 2025, most likely. AP needs a QB. And I mean, this team does need a quarterback again. You got to see what Aidan and Gardner do. Like, I'm not going to put what the quarterback position looks like on Antonio Pierce, because to me, AP wanted to get Jaden Daniels. Unfortunately, this year we were just unable to do it. So now a lot of the moves that we have made, which have already been said, that's more on Telesco. If the Raiders can't figure out their quarterback situation, to me, that's more on Telesco. AP is going to do with what he's got, and he's the defensive-minded guy. To me, as far as I'm concerned, AP has totally changed this defense, which is like, think about just a few years ago. This was the worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. Now we're talking about it being one of the best defenses in the NFL. If you're going to have a defensive-minded coach, then guess what? You need to have a good defense, which we have. If you're going to bring in a coach like AP, you need to have a smart offensive coordinator. If the offense doesn't get it done, that's going to be on Getsy. It's not going to be on AP. It's going to be on Telesco.
I'm also very interested to see how the Raiders quarterbacks play this week, because if we're being totally honest, the Vikings secondary is trash. Mm-hmm. Their secondary might be one of the worst secondaries in the entire NFL. And obviously a horrible incident, a horrible situation with their mid-round pick, Kyrie Jackson, who they were expecting to give them something at corner. Obviously passed away in a car accident. Very, very sad. Very, thoughts and prayers go out to his family. But the Vikings secondary is not good. That's why that's why they're bringing in Stephon Gilmore for a visit and going to try to sign Stephon Gilmore, because it's bad. So I want to see these quarterbacks play up against different competition, because we've seen them going up against kind of two extremes. The Raiders defense, which has been totally whooping their ass. And then the Vikings, where they're kind of going up against cushy coverage.
So even though the Cowboys, I don't anticipate that they're going to play a lot of their starters. They did have 4 interceptions last week. And, when I sat down and I talked to Tom was like, this is a team that's going to create turnovers. So I think it's a good challenge for the Raiders this week, going up against a team that's going to try to get turnovers.
Both of the quarterbacks, I thought last week, looked really good. I thought Aidan in that one drive looked really good. Obviously, you wish that he could, punch it in at the very end, but I mean, still, he drove the ball down 94 yards. Gardner, obviously, you see the differences in those two guys. Aidan's more of a methodical guy, where he's kind of like timing. Gardner's more of like an off-platform, gonna kind of shoot from the hip guy, kind of like their personality. Like where Aidan's kind of, not saying Aidan's more like stiff and rigid, but like Gardner's definitely the dude who's wearing flip-flops to the facility.
Yeah, I mean, Gardner is exactly what Gardner Minshew portrays. Aidan O'Connell is exactly what Aidan O'Connell portrays. Like, I've always said that Minshew kind of reminds me of the great value version of Brett Favre. He's a player, like, he goes out there and he plays like he's Brett Favre.
Yeah, he's slinging it.
It's just he doesn't have the talent that Brett Favre had. What up, Evil Mitch? 49ers offer Aiyuk and a second pick for Wilson and Myers. So you're saying 49ers offer Aiyuk and a second for Tyree? I mean, to be honest, it would be Brandon Aiyuk. The Raiders would give up a second-round pick, Tyree Wilson. And if that's Jakobi Meyers, I'm going to guess is what you're going with. To be real with you, I think Tyree Wilson, Jakobi Meyers, and a second-round pick is probably what it would cost to get Brandon Aiyuk. Like, it's not Aiyuk in a second. You're not getting Aiyuk in a second. People, if a team wanted to trade for Tyree Wilson right now, I'd say he's probably worth a 4th-round pick. Jakobi Meyers probably worth, I'll go a 3rd-round pick. So it's a 3rd and a 4th-round pick for Aiyuk, which from what it sounds like, it's going to be at least a 2nd and a mid-round pick. But like, if you're the Raiders, though, you're going to spend all that money then on the wide receiver position. Aiyuk is an upgrade over Jakobi Meyers. I think actually Aiyuk is one of the more underappreciated receivers. When you turn on the film, his ability to win at all levels of a route tree, it's actually one of the highest graded perception receivers of all time. And Aiyuk is good. But then also it's like Jakobi Meyers, though, is a great fit with this offense. He's a leader on this team, is a great blocker. And then also, I don't know if I'm ready to give up on Tyree Wilson yet. I will say this. If Wilson went to the 49ers, I don't know if I want like Cleveland Ferrell deja vu all over again, but I could see Tyree having some success out there.
I'm not ready to give up on you, Tyree.
If there is one team, to me, realistically, and I'll say this right now, if Tyree has a good game this week, if he's traded, the number one team that would trade for him is the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I promise you that. Tyree's got so many connections down here in Dallas. His agent's down here in Dallas. Tyree works out down here all the time in the offseason. If Wilson were to get traded, I would say it's to the Dallas Cowboys. Another team that could potentially do it, that it could be a sleeper, is it the Cleveland Browns? Because they're going to end up losing their draft pick who got into some trouble today.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Hall. Yep. He got into a little bit of trouble today.
Bueno.
You're going to get mad at me. I got to go take a quick pee before we get into this next segment here around the Dallas Cowboys. I'm trying to stay hydrated. I know my body's going to go through it tomorrow. I've been drinking a lot of water.
You got to check that liver.
Liver's fine. Bladder, that I probably do got to get checked. Rebel, no shot clock, man. Sorry. Chuggs can hear. He'll be holding it down. To the 700 people, if you haven't already, make sure you guys click that like button. And, I mean, if you wanted to tell people, I know we probably don't have the graphics moved over. Jeremy and I are going to be in Vegas next week, or tomorrow. And we're hosting a dinner tomorrow night.
Are you talking about this graphic right here where we're going to be in Las Vegas tomorrow night at 9 p.m. at Joel's Chop House inside the Ahern Hotel? Are you talking about that one where we're going to be at Raiders practice tomorrow with Taino Raider with David freaking Zahn? Make sure you make a reservation on Open Table if you want to get in. I don't know if there are any other seats available at Joel's Chop House for our Raiders Report meetup, but if you want to try it, if you want to see if there's any openings, go ahead, go over on Open Table. Let me see if the link is up here. Wow. Maybe I can find the link here in just a second. If you want to meet up with us, though, tomorrow night, if you're in the Vegas area, if you're going to open practice tomorrow, we're going to be at open practice tomorrow, so we'll be looking and seeing if we see any of our Raiders Report viewers, maybe trying to chop it up, see what's good. But, like I said, you want to maybe hang out with a bunch of Raider fans tomorrow night, then go on Open Table and make that reservation at Joel's Chop House. We'll be there at 9. I know it's a little late. I know it's a little bit late, but Raiders practice doesn't end until, I believe, 7:30 or 8. So if you want to get in and have a did I find it? No. I'll find it here in a second. I'll find it. Don't worry. I'll find it. If you want to have a chance to meet up with us, Chuggs, was I the MVP of your preseason game live? Actually, no, Patrick B. You were not the MVP for that week 1. Wait, week 1 or week 2? I'd have to go back and check. I'd have to go back and check. I know week 1 we had a couple of crazy people. I know Blaine Craig was the MVP week 1. I want to say that. Week 2, I'm not sure because we didn't do an MVP prize. We just did a raffle.
For what?
He was asking for my week 1 watch party. Patrick B was the MVP. And I said, I know my first game Blaine Craig was.
Yeah, Blaine went wild out on that stream. Shout out to Blaine, man. Honestly, believe it or not, when you guys, show love to other channels here at Chat Sports, it does really help us out. Like, Chuggs and I are trying to build a lot more than just this Raiders channel here. We're trying to build a company. Being able to create a lot of jobs, I think, for a lot of people is probably one of the things that I'm most proud of. Like when you start out at a place and you're one of like 4 people, and now, you look around, you're like, holy shit, there's 30 other people working around us. I think it's really cool to see how many lives that you change, how many families' lives you've changed. And, like the Raiders Report, when I always say, like, Chuggs and I, we don't keep the money that comes in here. We use it to be able to, grow this company and, to be able to just create a lot more jobs for a lot of other people and, give people opportunities that, quite frankly, I'm blessed to get the opportunity that I did here to do this show. What?
I was looking for the link to Joel's. I couldn't find it. There we go.
Yeah, well, I didn't put this one up there because I didn't know if we were talking about it. But if anybody wants to make that reservation, that link is available to y'all now in the comment section. Chuggs just put it down there below. I can't wait. Like, I was even telling my boss today, about, like, the dinner. And I'm pretty sure if you show up and you put Raiders Report in the notes, he was telling me that he's going to hook you up with some, like, I think some extra food here and there, which is going to be great. My boss was literally like, I might fly in just for that dinner. James literally said, he's like, I might fly in that night just to go to that dinner.
Is he?
He might. But, like, when I tell you, like, that's how good the dinner is, it is – I'm excited for practice. I am also super excited, though, to be chowing down tomorrow at Joel's Chop House.
Does James stay in my room or your room?
Well, we have 3 rooms. So we have an extra one, just in case. Just saying. Just in case. All right, y'all, let's get into the final segment here on today's show. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about, it's called Inside Look.
Cold open?
Cold open, yep. It's called Inside Look, and I'll kind of break it down what it is. It's more of everything that Raider fans should know going into this preseason game against the Cowboys. Obviously, we know the Raiders side of it, but I think in preseason especially, it's really important to know the opposite side. So I sat down with our Cowboys host here, Tom Downey, and he just gave me some things to look at, and I'll kind of break down what it means for the Raiders, what it means for the Cowboys, and how we can, take advantage of maybe some of their mismatches in this game here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Chuggs is ready to go. Actually, let me get to
Are you ready?
my script. The answer to that is no. All right, I'm ready now.
Actually, I'm not ready.
You're not ready? Oh, he jumped the gun. Tomato.
One more thing.
You're going to bring those tomatoes for all that pico? There's going to be some Raider fan that shows up tomorrow with a bag of tomatoes, some onions, some cilantro, and they're going to be like, you watch the Raiders report.
I will go get chips.
Do chips?
I'll bring the chips.
Some guac? Tavon Austin retired? Correct. Literally just happened. Tavon Austin retired. All right, coming up, let's look at this game.
Last time he played?
To be honest, I thought he's been retired for...
Guys retiring 6 years after they played their last snap is wild.
Yeah, I agree. It's like...
That's like me right now being like, done with college. No more college.
I am officially retiring from my baseball career.
Just respect my decision.
Respect my decision. Though, I did wear my baseball shirt today. It's my centenary baseball. Shout out to the Cyclones. Cyclones.
Never forget.
Well, you do this for Mean Green. Cyclones is... I'm totally kidding. I don't know. I just made that up. Somebody's like, that's weird as all hell. All right, let's talk about this show. Raider Nation, click that like button right now if you're ready for the Raiders to take down the Dallas Cowboys. My fiance is a Cowboys fan. Chuggs' wife is a Cowboys fan. We live down here in Dallas, and quite frankly, this preseason game means a lot of bragging rights. So if you're ready for the Silver and Black to crush the Cowboys, hit that like button right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and you're watching Inside Look. Every week, I'm going to sit down with a host of the opposing team that the Raiders are going to be going up against. This week, the Dallas Cowboys host, and I sat down with Tom Downey. You're going to see the 5 biggest storylines for the opposing team and why that's important for the Silver and Black. We're also going to be breaking down some of the biggest strengths and weaknesses and how the Raiders can beat them. Now, obviously, this is the preseason, so it's going to be a little bit different. I'm just going to be looking at a lot of the weaknesses and how the Silver and Black can take advantage of that. But I got a preseason Week 2 challenge, and I need my Inside Look video to get more than Tom's over at the Cowboys Report. So if you don't want to lose to the Cowboys, if you appreciate this show, if you think the nation is better than Cowboys, because if there's another fan base that I hear Cowboys Nation, it drives me nuts down here. I believe there's only one nation, so let's prove it this week. Let's win this like battle. So I talked to Tom, and out of all the channels we have here at Chat Sports, Raiders Report is second in subscribers only to the Cowboys channel. They have 190,000. Tom is also one of the most, I think, intelligent people in the NFL biz, especially for his NFL draft content. If you want to go yell at him on Twitter or ask him more questions about this preseason game, you can always hit him up at What Going Downey. For this matchup, though, this is a big one. I will admit it's really late at night, which I do not like. The fact that this game's getting kicked off at 9 p.m. Eastern time means Saturday night's going to be a wild night for Jeremy Chuggs and I. So make sure you're subscribed. We're going to be doing a watch party. Last week, we had close to 100,000 people tune into our watch party. We gave away a Rich Gannon signed helmet. I actually got to look. I don't even know what we're giving away this week. I think it's a jersey. I think it's a signed jersey if I'm being... Maybe it's a Devontae jersey. I'll go back and I'll look. Bottom line, hit that subscribe button, pull up. It's going to be a hell of a time. So coming up here, we're going to look at the Cowboys and Raiders storylines entering this preseason game because I know once the regular season hits, it's a lot easier to follow who's playing, this and that. So what I wanted to do is just ask Tom the top 5 biggest storylines in this one. The first one, he said, the starters, are they going to be playing? He told me that he expects to see maybe 5 to 10 guys who are going to be like key rotation pieces in the game, and most likely they're only going to play a very little of that group. So early on, you're going to see some Cowboys players get out there and get some reps in. For the Raiders side of it, though, I want to see, obviously, how Aidan handles going up against these guys. Should, a guy like Gardner Minshew, if he goes out there and he starts and he goes up against a lot of these, starting caliber defensive players, those are some good notes to look at. And I've been somebody that's been sitting up here saying, give Gardner the start this week because Aidan got the start last week. But if Aidan goes out there and he starts against the Cowboys and that starting defense, and then a lot of the backups come in against Gardner, especially because also Aidan last week played only one series. Gardner played 3 different series. I think who goes out there and starts this game obviously is going to be super important for the Raiders, but it's also important because the Cowboys, and it's very well known that they're not planning on playing a lot of their starters in this game. Let's go to the second storyline here, and it's Trey Lance. And the reason why this is important, I think, for Raider fans is because the Raiders have that connection with Rich Scangarillo. Rich Scangarillo was a part of that 49ers team that traded up all those picks to get Lance when he was a part of the San Francisco. But he's been up and down in week 1. He has not done a good job under pressure, so I'd like for the Raiders to try to get some pressure on him. Like a Tyree Wilson, I'm looking at you. Too many really bad throws. He needs a ton of reps. But for the Raiders, I think it's also a good thing of, I've talked about Lance so much as a potential option only because of Rich Scangarillo. I've never said I'm a believer in Lance. In fact, I've always been somebody that has said that Lance is not very good. But I think it's at least fun to watch Trey Lance, and now we get to see him up against Nathan Peterman. Let's go to the number 3 storyline. Tom says it's Mazi Smith. And Mazi Smith, defensive tackle from Michigan. I want to see what Mazi Smith does up against this Raiders interior offensive line because the Raiders' interior offensive line last week definitely struggled. I want to see what Cody Whitehair looks like. Are we going to see Jackson Powers-Johnson? I'm not 100% sure. Jordan Meredith, he needs to be able to step up. The Raiders' interior offensive line in general needs to do a much, and I mean much better job from top to bottom. And I just want to see in general how this offensive line is going to be able to handle some of the pressure that the Dallas Cowboys are going to try to bring on a consistent basis. Coming up, we still got more storylines here to get into. I got, looks like 2 more to go from Tom. But before I get into all of that, I do want to tell y'all about our sponsor, because if it's not for them, y'all would have to pay to watch this show. That's how we're able to keep the lights on and able to keep it free. Speaking of money, Rocket Money, the app that's going to save you hundreds of dollars. That's what Forbes said, if you don't believe me. Rocket Money is a personalized finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bill so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place. And if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with just a few taps. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million to cancel subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. That's rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. Now, I love my fiance, Alex, but we've been trying to save up for a house, been trying to save up for a honeymoon, been trying to save up for a wedding in general, and I think Rocket Money has helped us, just have a better understanding of where the hell we're spending our money. And sometimes in today's day and age, you need to be able to know that. You don't realize how many subscriptions you have. A lot of times you don't even realize how much money you're wasting. Rocket Money is going to help optimize your finances. So please take advantage of it. The link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description, rocketmoney.com/LV Raiders. Let's go to the 4th storyline here for the Dallas Cowboys, and it's the Cowboys are a team that's going to be aggressive. They play an aggressive style defense, trying to get a lot of turnovers. They forced 4 INTs last week. Tom did say, Stetson Bennett literally threw it to each guy. But, for the Raiders, one of the things that Antonio Pierce is really looking at is ball control, ball safety. So if Gardner and Aidan are going up against a team that, let's face it here, has, if they're going up against a team that's going to try to create turnovers, it's going to be something to watch. I also just want to see how Nathan Peterman's going to do in this game, who was just added to the Raiders today since I'm making this video on Tuesday. Let's go to the fifth and final storyline here. It's the return game. Tom really anticipates that Dallas is going to try to return at least every single kick. So Gavonta Turpin, he's not going to play in this game, which means that this could be a good opportunity for the Raiders to work on some of their kick return special teams guys a little bit more, because if they plan on every single time taking kicks out, no matter where it is, it could be an important thing for the Raiders to know going into it, saying, hey, if we need to figure out an extra gunner, if we want to figure out some of this extra special teams, maybe you decide to put Jack Jones back there since he's been working at times as a kickoff guy instead of Daniel Carlson. This could be your opportunity to do it, because from Tom's saying, they're going to try to return almost every single kick that happens in this game. Coming up next here, let's look at the Cowboys' biggest weaknesses and how I'm hoping that Antonio Pearson company tries to take advantage of some of these mismatches that the Raiders have. And, you know, again, when I want to do this show in the regular season, it's going to be a lot better in my mind, simply because you're going to take advantage of those weaknesses. That's kind of how you're going to win the football game. In the preseason, it's not exactly, as easy to look at. Maybe it's a little bit more apples to oranges instead of apples to apples. But coming up, we're going to look at some of the biggest weaknesses for Dallas. Before I get into that, I want to give a shout-out to some new subscribers. Over the past, I'd say, week or so, we've probably added almost 1,000 new subs here. So shout out to EZ, Miss, Ghost, Gary, and Rio. This is the most interactive Raiders YouTube channel out there. I think we've been able to create a really awesome family. And if you are watching this show, because I know 30% of the people right now that are watching the Raiders Report are not subscribed. It's kind of a mind-blowing number. Join the family. Hit that sub button. Who knows? You might see your name on a future show. Let's look at here some of the Cowboys' weaknesses on the offensive side of the football. The first one that Tom gave me was the running game. And this might be the worst running back room in the National Football League. Zeke looks old. Hell, they are so desperate at running back. I saw that they had Micah Parsons, Jeremy was telling me, working at times at running back, which is done by Micah and it's done by Dallas. But to me, I want to see then Tyree Wilson step up. I want to see a young player like Byron Young step up. Nesta Jade Silvera. If they're telling you that this running game is a little bit of a concern, and if they don't have any confidence in Trey Lance, well, let's stack that box and let's get some work in against the running game. But one player, and I mean one player that I am really going to look at, is Byron Young. Because Young is a dude that we've heard, some reports of maybe starting to get it a little bit. And then you look at last week in the preseason game, and it's like, he just doesn't have an anchor. You got to be able to prove that you can be a reliable defensive tackle in the NFL with the new regime, and Byron just has not been able to do that. So now you have a weak matchup, and let's take advantage of it. Another position group that I'm really going to be looking at is that linebacker unit, and the Raiders went with a 5-2 front to kind of get that game started last week against Minnesota. Maybe they do the exact same thing depending on who's playing at QB for Dallas. But if there's one player, when I went back and I watched the film, and a player that I was not pleased with at all, and quite frankly, I think I've actually should have maybe potentially made him a loser in that first preseason game, was Luke Masterson. When you go back and you watch the tape on the Kenai Wanu run, Kenai Wanu, it's a hell of a name, but it was the long touchdown run against Minnesota. I don't know what Luke Masterson's doing on that play. He's supposed to crash towards the hole on the left side. He just runs directly into the back of his defensive lineman, and then that creates a huge running lane, which led to that Vikings touchdown. For a player like Luke, I want to see him just do a better job in this game specifically because, Amari Burney, young player, but was one of the winners. Tommy Eichenberg, drafted by this regime. And another guy that you can't forget about is Kenai Mauga. Kenai Mauga always finds his way somehow just sticking around on this Raiders roster. Good special teams guy. The fan base likes him. The team likes him a lot as well. So Masterson definitely going to be a player to watch very heavily in this game. Let's go to the next one here for the Cowboys' weaknesses, their offense. Lots and lots of drops. Tom told me that there were 41 opportunities last week, and they had 5 drops, which maybe doesn't seem like a lot. That's a lot of drops in the NFL. So for me, I want to see Jakorian get aggressive. I don't know if we're going to see Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones, but to me, it's a lot of these younger players. MJ Devonshire, go out there and get aggressive. Decamerion Richardson, go out there and get aggressive. Jakorian Bennett, those top 3 players are the guys that I need to be able to see a little bit more from because I'm still getting asked, are we going to sign a corner? I don't think we're going to go out and sign a corner anytime soon. But this game could be a big determining factor in that. Let's go to the last weakness here, and it's Trey Lance's passing. And Lance is not good. I'm telling you all that right now. The moment I started watching the film from North Dakota State, this is one of those that we got right here at the Raiders Report. I said, do not go out and get Lance. He's not good enough of a passer. The sample size isn't there. And it's, just one of those things that I'll stand on. If you're the Raiders, though, and you know that Trey Lance has been struggling, let's create some pressure. Let's do something a little bit different where maybe we bring a little bit more pressure. Maybe we force him to make some bad decisions. Like, can you go out there and use some of your younger players, maybe an Amari Gaynor who looked pretty damn good? Have him in some more pass rushing situations. Tyree Wilson, more pass rush situations. Charles Snowden, Janarius Robinson. Get after those guys because I want to see it. Trey Lance has struggled with his passing, so let's get after him here a little bit. The Raiders made a move, and they made a move for Nathan Peterman. And when I think about this question, it's kind of a mind-blowing question, but it's an honest question. Who do you think is the better quarterback? Let's say right now the Raiders had an opportunity to bring Trey Lance in as your quarterback 3. Do you think Trey Lance is a better quarterback than Nathan Peterman, or do you think Nathan Peterman is a better quarterback than Trey Lance? Let me know down below. Type TL for Trey Lance. Type NP for Nathan Peterman. The reason why I'm going to say Nathan Peterman is because it's not the better quarterback in terms of a starter. Neither is a starting quarterback in the NFL. Quite frankly, neither is a backup quarterback in the NFL. But Nathan Peterman is the better QB3 because he's smarter, he's more intelligent, he knows how to pick up a playbook, can be a better mentor, can be a better leader than somebody like Trey Lance that quite frankly has not been able to show that he can do anything from a backup quarterback standpoint. Let's go to the Cowboys' weaknesses now on the defensive side of the football and how our team can hopefully take advantage of some of those mismatches. It's the run defense. And Cowboys, Dallas is a team that's built on being able to get after the quarterback, and you see it at times even last season, like, especially in that playoff game where Aaron Jones ran wild. This is a team where if they fall behind, their run defense is not good enough. So I want to look at a running back like Zamir White, maybe Alexander Madison. What does Sincere McCormick look like? But especially, and I mean especially, can I get some Dylan Laube work going against the Dallas Cowboys? Because if there was one player that you literally had to crumble up all the tape on Laube and throw it away last week, you did. And it's not Laube's fault. It's the offensive line's fault. It's the fact that the Luke Getsy offense, and I shouldn't even say the Luke Getsy offense, the offense in general in the second half last week against the Vikings was a disgrace. And that might even be a too nice of a word to say. But I need to see what Laube looks like with Aidan. What does Laube look like with Minshew? What does Laube look like when guys are actually blocking? Because nobody blocked at all in the second half last week. So I want to see what this team can do running the football. And here's an opportunity up against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go to another one here. Their pass rush depth is limited a little bit. But I kind of like this because if Tom's sitting up here going, yeah, this team's run defense is bad, that this team has got bad pass rush depth, well, then there's no more excuses for this offensive line. The amount of people that got mad at me last week for saying that the Raiders' offensive line played as bad as what they did in the second half, do you guys want me to give you my honest opinion, or do you want it all to be cupcakes, butterflies, and rainbows? If you want participation trophies, this isn't the show for you. If I see something that I don't like, it doesn't make me a Raiders hater. It doesn't mean that I'm hating on those players. It's me giving you my honest opinion. So now this is a week of, all right, well, let's prove it. We can either shut up and prove it or just go out there and do it, because this is not going to be a team. AP doesn't want a team that creates excuses, and I'm not going to be a host that creates excuses either. So now we're going up against a team that's got bad pass rush depth, bad run defense. So for the tackles and interior offensive linemen, the excuses are stopping this week. You got to do a better job. Wear that jersey, wear that helmet with some pride, because I didn't see it in the second half last week. Let's go to the final thing here. Tom just put Eric Scott Jr. And I guess, so he's one of the outside corners for Dallas. He primarily plays on the left side. I anticipate that he's going to be a starter here in this matchup. So what I'm going to look for here is maybe who gets lined up against him, but also, I'm looking at the Christian Wilkersons of the world, the Jalen Guytons, the DJ Turners, Trey Tucker. Is he able to have another good game? I'm not going to lie, I'm curious to see if Devontae Adams plays in this game. Antonio Pierce did say if all players are healthy, that every single Raiders player would play in the preseason. So quite frankly, I want to see Devontae go out there. But the number one receiver that I'm going to be looking at is Christian Wilkerson. And I'll tell you this right now, if Wilkerson ends up making this roster again, I think I deserve to get pied in the face, because last offseason I said no chance Wilkerson makes the roster. Finds a way to make the roster. This offseason, how many Raider fans, and be honest with me right now, how many Raider fans if I would have said Christian Wilkerson's making this roster back in May and June, y'all would have laughed at me. Wilkerson just proved that he's reliable, sure hands, he's going out there and he's doing the right things. And this is somebody that McDaniels brought in, and he has been able to keep on this team. Randall Keaton didn't step up the way that I was hoping. Keelan Doss got waived on Tuesday. Like, Jalen Guyton did a pretty good job, but if the Raiders are going to keep 6 receivers, I think Christian Wilkerson could do it and maybe get some good matchup opportunities this week against the Cowboys. Coming up next here on the show, let's look at my prediction for this game. And my prediction last week for the Raiders and Vikings game, I got the Raiders score correct. I was close. I said 24-13 last week against Minnesota. Unfortunately, the Raiders' offense in the second half and defense didn't really decide to show up. For this game, though, right now as it stands, the over-under is 39.5. I would take the over on that bad boy. The Raiders are also 7-point favorites. I'm going to hammer that as well because the Raiders are going to play way more starters than what the Dallas Cowboys are. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Raiders are going to get a dub here, 27-10, and I can promise you this. The Raiders will not give up a touchdown in the first half. Not going to happen. If it is the Raiders starting defense and the second string guys out there, they're not giving up a touchdown. Trey Lance isn't good enough. I think we might see Cooper Rush a little bit in this game as well. But if Trey Lance gets the start, I might say they might blank him because Lance is that bad and the defense for the Raiders is that legit. So one last thing before I get out of here. I told Tom that the nation is going to take over his channel. And, you know, Tom and I have probably one of the coolest relationships that I have here at Chat Sports. He's the guy that I've worked with the longest, and I've kind of helped, seed the Raiders and the Cowboys channel, build a company that is Chat Sports, and it's been a beautiful thing. But Tom does get nervous about Raider Nation. I also know that that's the only channel that's bigger than the Raiders Report here at Chat Sports. So I'm asking y'all this. If you hate the Cowboys as much as I do, at any opportunity, if you get just 5 minutes is a lot, 30 seconds of your time, you're sitting down, you're dropping a number 2, I want you to go to the Cowboys Report YouTube channel and go on any of the videos and just spam Raiders. It's going to put Tom into a tizzy. So pick any video. And put a Raiders comment down below. Tom's going to make an inside look video. Do it there. Tom's going to do probably a preview of players to watch. All of that good stuff. Go over to that channel. It's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description. This week is about taking over the Cowboys Report. It's about showing who the real nation is because I'm sick of hearing Cowboys Nation down here. For me, for Jeremy, for all of us Raider fans, let's make sure we do this thing and let's make sure we show Cowboys fans that there is only one nation. Let's go to Respect. What's up, man? If you haven't already answered, what's the biggest strength of this team besides the defensive line? What's the biggest strength of this team? Let me know down below, Nation.
And I was messaging with some people in the chat. If you want to get a question up, you got to use hashtag Raiders. There's people saying, they're not answering any of my questions.
If you don't show hashtag Raiders, we can't put it up here on screen. So that's important. And again, we're going to get some new viewers here. We're getting some new subscribers. When you use hashtag Raiders and then ask us your question, we have the ability to put it up on screen. It's just the way our system works. I'll say that the biggest strength of this team, I almost want to say they're skill position players. Like, I think if you were to show Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, like that group right there, that's a tough group to beat in the NFL.
Safety room.
Safety room is very deep.
That would probably be my second that I think of. And it's funny because I think both guys are very underrated.
Could you consider the starting corners? Because last week it was 5 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers. Could you say the Raiders secondary? The Raiders secondary to starters last week was Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, Trevon Merrick, Marcus Epps. Like, to me, that is low-key a very good secondary.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The Raiders are a way better roster than what they're getting credit for. Like, when you see the 6-11 projections, when you see a lot of the shitty projections, it's simply because the national media, people don't understand how actually good the Raiders roster is. They only look at the quarterback spot. The Raiders are I would say, if you took quarterback out of the equation, the Raiders have a top 10 roster in the NFL. That's how confident I am in this roster. They don't have a QB. And that's why they're getting ranked where they are. I believe they are a top 10 roster from the starters on offense and defense if you take quarterback out of the equation. That's how confident I am. Jeremy, what's up, man? Arizona fan here in Tucson. My son was a strength coach intern for Arizona Wildcats football. He said Fajita is a beast, and McMillan is insane. Fafita. Yeah, I'm hungry. Fajita right now would be gas.
Oh, yeah. Giving off big fajita energy.
Big fajita energy from Jeremy Cole. All right.
Also, McMillan is like 6'4", 6'5", like runs like a 4.5, 40. He's insane. He's going to be one of the top wide receivers taken next year.
Yeah. And this is me being honest with y'all. I don't know many prospects outside of the quarterback position.
See, this is why I love playing college football 25.
Oh, you're starting to learn the players?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I totally get that. I would say this for me, like, I won't start studying players until I usually do it in February is when I start. All right, y'all. If we could get a few more questions in here. Can't get right says, shout out to Chuck. I'm up. What's up, fan? No duck race today, Crash Dog. The only time I'm doing duck races this off season, I guess, or season, is going to be on Thursday Night Football when Chuggs and I go live for those games, and then also on Raiders game days. I want to keep duck races for like the big time events. I appreciate you asking. The only thing that happened today that might be a little bit crazy for you is the Raiders signed Nathan Peterman and they waived Keelan Doss with an injury designation, which, Keelan's probably going to end up on the IR. That's just the way that it's going to go. But yeah, sign Nathan Peterman today. Let's go to Lance. If the Raiders pick up another player, who do you think will be the next person cut? That's a really good question. I'll say, typically they end up moving on from like veterans. The only other thing that they might do is if there's like a certain player that, like last season, for example, the Raiders cut O.J. Howard really early because they knew that he had a better opportunity to go elsewhere. And sometimes like coaches will do right by guys if they think they can go somewhere else. If I'm looking at it, you probably just got to look at one of the 5 or 6 players, one of the second-year guys that went to the Raiders rookie minicamp early on back in May. If I had to really truly give you a name, let me go here. Could it be somebody on the defensive line? Maybe bottom of the roster type of player. It could be a Terrell Bynum at receiver, though. They've been trying to hang on to some of those guys. John Samuel Schnenker, I would say, could be an option. Britton Brown could be a name to throw out there. I'll say Ellerson Smith. This might be, I'm going to say Matthew Butler could be a name to throw out there.
Oh, yeah. Bachman.
Sam Webb, if they want to give him an opportunity. Alex Bachman, the only reason why I don't know if it's going to be a receiver is because they just, moved on from Keelan, and they want to have some of that wide receiver depth because they use a lot of those guys for special teams and practice squad and whatnot there. Let's go to Luis. What up, man? Kids back to school. I have 4 extra tickets to tomorrow's practice. Who wants them? If you're willing to give away some tickets here, Luis, I'm down to try to do everything in my power to give them away. But I would say personally, just show up to practice because there's going to be people that show up tomorrow that probably cannot get in. But
I'm guessing.
Oh, he's saying that he can't even go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the ability to accept them because I already have tickets. And
I can.
Yeah, you might be able to accept them. I would say, Lewis, if you want to give away those tickets, message Jeremy on Twitter right now at Jeremy Chuggs, and we'd have to figure out who can be there. That would be the only challenge. Let's go to Taino. Minshew first quarter, AOC second quarter. Who's second half quarterback, Brown, Bradley, or Peterman? I think it's Peterman. I think it's Peterman, and I think Carter Bradley actually gets cut. So? What?
I
think Peterman plays.
He got signed today.
Yep.
So he has legit 2 days to, I know he's smart, but
he also, like I said, it's an offense that he played in the last 2 years. So, he should at least have some sort of understanding of the Luke Getsy offense. I would say that you're going to see a lot of Anthony Brown and Nathan Peterman. Quite frankly, I don't think Carter Bradley plays. Carter Bradley might get some reps in that 3rd preseason game. If it was up to me, though, if I'm the Raiders, I am putting out AOC and Gardner as much as I can until I am confident in my decision on who that Raiders starting quarterback is going to end up being. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has a lot of confidence in that right now. I know I don't. Taino, you ready for tomorrow, man? I can't wait. I know you were saying you want to get a tattoo of the signature, but Taino, what I want to do tomorrow is, and Jeremy, I think it's a good idea by his part, I'm just going to sign a piece of paper. You can save it. That way, you can get that tattooed whenever. Like I want you to hang out with me, Zahn, and Jeremy tomorrow for for like lunch, breakfast. Do that tattoo some other time in the week. Just hang out with us tomorrow. Because I don't want to sign it and then like it wears off. So I'm going to give you a piece of paper with the signature. That way you can get it tattooed for, throughout the week because you're going to be there all week. Tony Montana. What are the chances we don't have to suffer through Anthony Brown Jr. again?
I don't know if we really suffered through Anthony Brown Jr. I think it's more the offensive line let him down.
Couldn't agree more.
And it's so funny because
can I sign a check?
we talk about, the NFL is the ultimate team game.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate team position is the offensive line. So you saw a first half where DJ Glaze looked really good, but he also had really good guys next to him. If you're an offensive lineman and you don't trust the guy to your right or left of you, you're going to play much worse. And we saw that from DJ Glaze in the second half when he moved over to left tackle. I don't remember who he had next to him at left guard.
I'd have to go back and look.
That entire unit as an offensive line did not play well together.
Yeah, I mean, it was struggle. We talked to a few Raiders offensive linemen last year that would talk to us a lot about, continuity and like.
It is the biggest position in the entire NFL,
Chemistry.
any offensive line position,
Chemistry.
where it really depends on who's to your right and who's to your left.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, man. All right, y'all, I'm going to get on out of here. Chuggs and I, we're getting ready to fly out to Las Vegas tomorrow. So seriously, it sounds like Allegiant Stadium is going to have a little over 40,000 Raider fans tomorrow. I can't wait to be able to hang out with the nation. I can't wait to see David Zahn. I can't wait to see Taino Raider. I can't wait to have an awesome day tomorrow in Vegas, see these players, on the practice field. It's going to be really dope. And then later on that night, have an amazing, amazing dinner with the nation at Joel's Chop House, 9 p.m. Make your reservation on Open Table. You will get a video from me tomorrow with some of the notes that we have from practice. You'll also get a video from me on Thursday as well. The next time that you're going to see me live, though, is when the Raiders and Cowboys play on Saturday. We're going to go live probably an hour before kickoff. Maybe we go live even a little bit more than that. We'll kind of see how it goes. But from me, from Jeremy Chuggs, enjoy the rest of your week. I can't wait for tomorrow, and I'll see you guys Saturday when the Raiders take down the Dallas Cowboys.